Hello everyone, Natred here doing another fight review. Today we're going to be looking at some red on red sparring. This is from the Deliberate Wactus YouTube channel run by Kurai out of Colorado. I believe it's the Iron Mountains. And I'm not sure if we're going to watch all 8 minutes of this because it's just kind of casual sparring. We'll definitely watch the first 5. I'm not a super accomplished red fighter. I would put myself as competent and in the red v red matchup, and red v XYZ whatever, very not experienced. But I have a little bit of experience with this, and I enjoy red fighting. It's just never been something I've tried very hard to get good at. I know there's a big meta for red fighting in Dag and Bell, not so much in Amp Guard, and so I'm hoping that can start changing. Yep, just very clean double arm there from Kurai. Red fighting's very cool. You can do a lot of cool things with it. I think if you're coming from a historical sword fighting background, it's one of the skill sets that you can transition into most easily. These are bats. Yeah, these are Omni blades, but flat blade red fighting especially. So we have Lightning and Kurai here. Kurai's in the shorts, Lightning's in the lovely purple pants. And I'm going to ask and find out if these are Dagahir legal min reds or amp sticks. Yeah, looks like a Simo there, limb for a limb, because that actually will have a lot to do with the weight of the weapons. I see the green tag on Kurai's weapon marking it as a thrusting weapon for Dag, so I'm going to assume that that is a min red, which has to be a minimum weight of 24 ounces. Got some low commitment stabs to the forearms. There's a lot less outright aggression than I'm used to seeing in the red sparring in my area. You'll have fighters around here. I feel like a lot of them will throw very strong opening shots to kind of like make some very aggressive connection with your opponent's guard as the beginning. And we see these two fighters here being very cautious. Yeah, you got to be careful when you have a lever that's this absolutely long. Oops, nope. Technical difficulties, technical difficulties. You want to be very careful when you have levers that are this long that you don't put your tip super far out in a lazy position where it can just be manipulated out of the way. Like, this isn't even an active practice by Kurai to keep Lightning's tip over. It just kind of naturally traps itself as she moves around it. It's such a big lever there. And see, things like this, I wonder why there's the windup, and then, like, you can throw from this position. Let's watch this windup again. So from this position right here, as you step in, you can either complete this Molinet over the top. I believe this is a Molinet. This Molinet over the top into a nice like circular sweep that's going to come in end up in this area. This is nice because it's going to keep your sword in front of you and represent your guard. Or you can even snap straight back out of this guard. You can like do wind up into it. Sometimes the frame by frame in YouTube likes to be smooth, and sometimes it doesn't. But you can wind up here, and then instead of starting to cock backwards to come around into your circular strike, you can snap back under, make some contact. But instead, we just don't see a big commitment here. I don't feel like Lightning is doing anything so threatening that Kurai couldn't follow through with it. Yep, good shot over the top there. And so this is something that I see as just a common factor in a lot of people that aren't super familiar with a certain fighting style. It's just not knowing exactly where their guard is or how much they have to move it. And I don't even know if Kurai, I don't know if I can say that because it doesn't even look like Kurai is moving to block the shot that's coming in. There's this big over the top movement here. Kurai moves his guard up high to try to block this shot as if it was coming down straight at a 45-degree angle, but instead it kind of curls up and under or under and up and nails the hip. One of the things that I was kind of taught, one of the few things I was really taught about red fighting is you want to try to keep your hands in front of you, but also in this box created by your shoulders and your hips. And you want to stay a little bit more cocked than you may be wanting to naturally, so you can throw that heavier weighted weapon faster. And so, like right here, this place that Kurai is keeping his hands, and how he's manipulating them inside of this box, and how his gripping on his sword is a comfortable distance apart, but not too far apart that he's having to transition outside of the profile of his torso. You don't want to have your hands too close together and inside. You're going to start chicken winging. You don't want to have your hands too far apart either. Because as you go and begin to strike, you're going to move outside of your body. And now this is just in reference to like red sword v red sword fighting. Super long red like glaive fighting is a much different animal, in my opinion. Yeah, what are you gonna accomplish? Yeah, yeah. This is like a dope move if you're planning on grappling somebody, but unless you're playing a sport where you can heel hook somebody, you're just gonna end up here and then be 2-on-1 as far as hand matching goes. Yeah, deliver the nice pop to the leg.
Oh yeah, nice.
So let's wait for these fighters to reset, and I'll just kind of talk about my thoughts on how I would approach each of their guards before an exchange begins if I was fighting them.
Like leather work. Yeah.
So Kurai's already demonstrating something that I don't do myself. I'm not saying it's good or it's bad. I just don't. I'm not comfortable doing it. I think it's because of my body size and the shape of my body. I
Yeah.
when he posts up here, I really don't like personally, and this is not a skill thing at all. I think it's just a style comfort thing. I don't like having my forehand being my right hand and my forefoot being my left foot. I don't like being switched up like that. But I'm not saying that's either good nor bad. It's just kind of a thing, a notation.
Okay. Oh.
So stuff like this is super high risk and pretty low reward in my opinion. I keep saying that. Of course, it's all my opinion, but this like one-handed stab business for biceps. I'm not saying lightning launched this shot intending for bicep, but it does kind of look like it. Imagine this doesn't hit Kurai, or imagine Kurai doesn't try to counter strike. He just stays in that nice box guard. You go to one-handed strike him, and he just gives you the mother of all like short like shot blocks. Your sword's going to describe almost a 360-degree arc, like coming back around on its flight path. And so I think if you're gonna, I think stabbing in red v red is critical thing to do and master and be good at. But you don't ever want to put yourself into a position where your weapon is out of commission, because it takes so long to bring your weapon back into guard that you don't want to be the first person to throw some loosey goosey shot. Speaking of nice tight shots, yeah, that's nice. I like this idea. This looks like a very deliberate thing from Kurai. This chop to the outside, poop, chop to the outside, then reset halfway, come back up, come vertical straight down. Get them to bring their guard out, and then it almost looks like you're going to double tap them. So they're probably going to stay posted there to soak that second block, and then you come in and you slot them right on top of their guard. Very neat thing to see here. Kurai's an awesome fighter. I'm really excited to see where he goes with the red use, the great weapon use. Yeah. There's a lot of disadvantages to being shorter than your opponent. I think that those get exacerbated when you can't kind of cheat away some of those disadvantages with a shield. Just here we have lightning go for kind of a counter shot while being a counter shot while retreating, and it just ends up with her being both completely out of range of hitting anything with the counter shot here, and just Kurai being able to swing down over her guard, over Lightning's guard, pick up the arm. And now again, as long as Kurai doesn't throw himself out of position, it should be pretty easy. Yeah. And see, at this point, like even like in Dag or Bell or something, I feel like you're just kind of inclined to just take your hand and just grab your opponent's weapon and be like, well, or fuck it, drop your sword, grab their sword with both your hands. Yeah, there we go. It does get kind of awkward in these low contact games. And especially looks awkward to me, coming from a more physical game background where, like, yeah, you arm somebody, you just body check him down, and then like swing at him if you're in a red v red match like this. I'm glad it's not so rough and tumble in these parts anymore because much more frail nowadays. But we'll watch another couple exchanges of this. Again, cool shot. I don't know if I'm the most qualified person to evaluate the efficacy of this shot, or I mean the overall goodness of this shot. But I like the idea. I like the thought process here. Kurai kind of presents this nice high presented guard. Draw the attention up, start to swing up, come back, come under. Good. Almost picked up body there. And not a lot of intensity, not a lot of like immediate follow through. And part of me is curious if that's like just because it's a low intensity sparring match. Part of it's just a artifact of the less physical fighting style and amp guard. Um, less physically aggressive, I should say. As far as athleticism goes, it's all over the board everywhere. Yeah, it's just it's one of the things I keep noticing between really good uh, people are doing very good in fights versus what kind of slops in it is things like excess movement and not being super economical in their motions. And we kind of see that here. Referencing back to what I was talking about earlier, being the first person to throw yourself out of position. When you have a weapon this long, you make a movement this dramatic. If it doesn't have a like kill at the end of it, you're likely not going to get a good exchange just because you threw so much motion into it. Yeah. But is still able to trade out of it. Almost picks up the chest stab there if it didn't run into the head as well. Yeah. And I don't know how you resolve this in a non-awkward way without like physical contact allowed. I would almost just start carrying a dagger in the back of my pants elastic or something.
Oof.
That was a close one, bud. I get what Kurai was trying to do there. Ooh. You know? So earlier, Kurai threw this little chop, and then came back down vertical. Now we see just the tiniest fake for a chop, and then coming down in that slot. Maybe just nicking the ear and the side of the head, but so close. So close. And something that I think maybe I don't think I've heard Kurai talk about this, but I've seen this. I've seen it in a lot of instructional, or at least one instructional video from SKBC, I believe, where they mention how the less adept your opponent is, the bigger your fakes have to be. And I wonder if this fake right here, if that just isn't enough to invite Lightning out of position. Like, there's a little bit of movement of her sword down to the side, but this is still not quite a successful shot.
Oof.
Okay, I believe she just called that a kill there. So yeah, that was a beautiful shot. Um, I think it was a good honor. I don't know if that was quite significant on Kurai's but booty there, but I'm gonna go ahead and cut the tape there. Yeah, one of the things that I remember, I think it was EXO from an instructional video he did at Ragnarok. He was talking about if you want to become good at red fighting, you need to find a buddy and hit them in the head, or who's okay with being hit in the head a whole bunch, because yeah, those top of the body slots are so inviting and such a good like money place to land if you have the control to do it, and you only get the control to do it from getting a lot of reps in, and you only get a lot of reps in from getting a lot of practice in, and you only get a lot of practice in through beating your opponents about the head and shoulders with your red sword. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed.